All right, I'm going to go ahead and just announce the start of the meeting. So this is the start of the project subcommittee meeting, and we are holding this meeting virtually due to the current public health emergency. We're using Microsoft Teams for this meeting, and a video of this meeting will be provided on our website in accordance with the Open Meetings Act requirements. Just some ground rules to go over again, because it's been a little while since we've met this way. All microphones should be muted. We ask that you hold all questions or comments until the end of each presentation. And when you do choose to comment, whether you're calling in by phone, especially if you're calling in by phone, please make sure that you announce yourself by name so that any attendees on the phone can identify you. If you're joining the meeting by phone, pressing *6 will unmute you, as similarly, if you press *6 again, you will go back on mute. The public has been invited to submit written comments on any of our agenda items up to 24 hours prior to this meeting. And those comments, if they were received, will be read by our commission staff at the appropriate time. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Nick, maybe, or Charlotte to go through and determine whether or not we have a quorum.
I can't remember which one of us was taking this, Charlotte.
Do you want me to do it? I can do it.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So it looks like we have Commissioner Laird by phone, Commissioner Grant, Commissioner McCall, Commissioner Ewing, Commissioner Mangum, Commissioner Hertz, Commissioner Parker, Commissioner Roberson, and there's also someone else by phone, a 301-674.
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me? Pat Mahoney here.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Mahoney.
Very well.
And did I miss anyone?
We just had one more person join by phone. I can't read the numbers right now, but.
So that was Commissioner Mahoney, who was at the last one that joined. And I think that was 9034. So if your phone number is 301-674-4051, trying to figure out who that commissioner is.
It's not McCarthy?
McCarthy. Commissioner
Gotcha.
McCarthy.
Hi, McCarthy?
Yes.
Got it. Thank you, Commissioner McCarthy.
We gotcha.
Okay, I think that's confirmed, so I think we are good.
Excellent. All right, we have a short agenda today, so let's get right into it. Up first, we have Tay Harris, who is going to present on the Washington Sanitary Sewer Commission Piscataway Sewershed Rehabilitation Phase 2 project.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Sandy. Let me see if I can get the presentation up.
Hello?
Yes, you are in the project subcommittee meeting. Could you please identify yourself?
Hi, this is Caroline Barney Alvarado from Maryland DHCD.
Great to see or hear you, Caroline. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm only on the phone. My whatever it is not working on my computer at work. So I'll just, I do have the agenda printed out and I can hear you just fine, but I don't have the visual or the meeting.
Nick or Tay, is it possible to have somebody send the slide deck over to Caroline, the slide decks for the presentations today?
Yes, you want that done now or after the presentation? It's hard for me to do it because I'm already up in presentation mode.
you can do it afterwards. That's fine.
Okay.
I'll listen carefully and I can take a look at the presentations afterwards before the 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's
Okay, I'll
fine.
Sounds good.
I'll get it to you as soon as I can then when I'm done. Okay, so hi, I'm Tay Harris, and I'm here to present to you WSSC's Piscataway Sewer Shed Rehabilitation Project, Phase 2. Before I proceed, I'd like to introduce Gary Wallace. He is here, and he is a project manager from WSSC, as well as David Ivy, and he is a consultant at WSSC Water. And I have been working with both of these gentlemen to get the project ready for presentation to you all. And I'd also like to mention that we sent a revised staff report a few days ago, and the revision just had to do with one of the conditions of approval, which is the third condition, and it's found on the last page of your staff report, and we can go over those when we get to the end of the presentation. So WSSC is proposing to rehabilitate several segments of the Piscataway sewer shed's deteriorating sewer conveyance infrastructure as part of a consent decree WSSC entered in 2005 with the EPA. The goal of the project is to reduce wastewater from entering Piscataway Creek. On March 11, 2014, critical area staff approved Phase 1. So this presentation is presenting Phase 2 of the project. And WSSC is proposing to slip line the existing deteriorating infrastructure through existing manholes to minimize impacts to the expanded buffer. And just take note that all impacts are temporary and will be located within WSSC's right-of-way. So here we have a land cover map. Let me just point out to you that there are 7 project areas within this entire project, and those are delineated by these white boxes. There are approximate locations. The project's located in Prince George's County, as you can see in the vicinity map down here, and it's south of the District of Columbia, around here in the Fort Washington area. And here you have the Indian Head Highway going through the project area as shown. Also within the project area, there are steep slopes, hydric soils, highly erodible soils, and streams. You can see that there are subdivisions impacted by the project areas, and then natural resource parklands either owned by Maryland National Capital Park and Planning or National Park Service. In addition to the natural resource lands that I've mentioned, there are also forest interior dwelling bird habitat areas within the project areas that's depicted with the green you see here. And there are also wetlands within some of the project areas. The wetlands include both non-tidal and tidal, and forested and non-forested. I did forget to mention, let me do this. Maintenance to existing sewer lines is permitted under the MOU between the Critical Area Commission and WSSC. However, the temporary impacts to the expanded buffer, which is considered a HPA, makes this property ineligible for review under the MOU. And because WSSC is a quasi-state institution, and since the project's ineligible for review under the MOU, we are bringing this project to you as per COMAR 270205, and that state agency actions resulting in development on state-owned lands. Okay, so there are 6.91 acres of the LOD located in the critical area, of which 3.25 acres located on lands designated as LDA, as depicted in the yellow, and then 3.66 acres of land designated RCA, as depicted in the green. So I'm going to go through the next series of slides, which will be 7, and I'm briefly going to discuss the impacts in each of the project areas and how it relates to the expanded buffer. And if I make this clear, the buffer's been expanded because of highly erodible soils, hydric soils, steep slopes, water bodies, and non-tidal wetlands. So here, the project area 1, which is delineated right here, you can get the where it is in the vicinity of everything. The red line depicts the expanded buffer. And then the purple line depicts the critical area 1,000-foot boundary. And then these orangish areas are the LOD, where the areas of impact are. So you can see here the buffer's been expanded for steep slopes, and the pinkish color is steep slopes 25% or greater. And then it might be hard to see, but there are little yellow patches in here intermixed, and these are steep slopes 15% or greater. So as you can see on this project area, we have the LOD impacting within the steep sloped and expanded buffer area, and then also just within the 100-foot buffer here. Project area 2, which is right here. You can see that, again, the buffer's expanded for steep slopes. We have, I think, a water body in here and a little bit of non-tidal wetlands. So the LOD is contained entirely within the expanded buffer here, outside of the expanded buffer here, and then totally outside of the critical area here. Project area 3, you can see there was no impacts to the expanded buffer, just to the critical area. And so here you have the critical area 1,000-foot boundary. Project area 4, this is where it gets complicated with buffer expansion. So you can see we have steep slopes, we have the non-tidal wetlands here, the mint green, we have some waterways, and although it's not delineated, within areas of the steep slopes, we have hydric soils and highly erodible soils. So the buffer's been expanded conservatively to include most of the LOD, using really the ridge of steep slopes to delineate, because as you can see, you can continue to delineate or expand the buffer. So we just made sure it was conservative to keep the LOD inside the expanded buffer. Project area 5, it's the same scenario. So you have the expanded, the steep slopes, the non-tidal wetlands, and then we have hydric and highly erodible soils. Project area 6, same scenario. You can see the LODs are all within the expanded buffer. And then project 7, area 7, it's very messy here, but you can see here's the 1,000-foot boundary, and you can see how the steep slopes really dictates how the buffer's expanded. So we have the LOD hitting inside the expanded buffer, outside the expanded buffer, as well as outside the critical area. So the proposed clearing in the critical area in total is 5.07 acres, of which 3.6 acres is located in the expanded buffer. Temporary impacts comprise 1.84 acres, and that's to allow for site access to the manholes and to haul equipment. And WSSC proposes to mitigate and provide 5.32 acres of reforestation at a rate of 1-to-1, both inside and outside of the expanded buffer. And to give you an idea, since the area is so vast and there's different types of soils, we have upland areas. So here's a list of proposed plantings that will be planted in the upland areas that are to be reforested. And here's a list of plantings that are going to be planted in wetland areas to be reforested. Also, all reforestation is going to go back into the areas that are cleared because the lifespan of the project is 50 years. So replanting these areas further minimizes impacts to the expanded buffer as well as the critical area. And then the temporary impacts will be stabilized and reseeded, and a seed mix will be used for upland areas as well as wetland areas. Because this project is only has temporary impacts, there's no action required for the 10% rule. And in addition, since everything is temporary impacts, coastal resiliency is also not an issue for this project. The status of other agency reviews are as such. The Maryland Department of the Environment, Environment's authorization for impact to non-tidal wetlands is pending. Stormwater management is not required for this project as impacts are temporary. WSSC has authorization to approve settlement and control plans for construction projects as per COMAR 26-1701-04B, which was approved on November 23rd, 2021. The Department of Natural Resources Heritage Service found there are no impacts to RTEs in the project area, and any impacts to FIDS habitat mitigation will occur at a rate of 1-to-1. And then Maryland Historical's Trust determination for impacts to historical properties or archaeological areas is pending. The public notice was posted or advertised in the Washington Post on November 15th, 2021, and signs were posted within the site areas on December 17th, 2021. So therefore, we recommend, Commission staff recommends the following conditions of approval. Prior to the start of construction, WSSC shall submit MDE's authorization to the critical area staff. Prior to start of construction, WSSC shall submit the Maryland Historic Trust determination to critical area staff. And lastly, within 60 days of the critical area commission approval, WSSC shall submit an executed planting agreement to critical area staff. I'd like to turn the project over to Chair Hertz, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Tay.
Sure.
Just a quick question for Nick and Charlotte. Were there any questions coming in through the chat that you noticed during the presentation?
Nope.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to ask if any of the commissioners, either on the phone or online with us, have any questions to ask of Tay or the representatives from WSSC.
No questions.
All right. And were there any public comments received for this particular project?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, is my presentation still up on screen? I'm having trouble finding the screen to take it down.
Yeah, the edit.
It is still up
It
on
is?
screen, but it's not in presentation mode. It's in your PowerPoint view.
Oh, I found you guys.
Okay.
Hold on. All right. Thanks.
Now you're not sharing. There you go. Okay. So I'm going to, at this point, ask if anyone from WSSC has any comments that they would like to make for the subcommittee. And if not, we'll move to the motion portion. So David or was it Wayne or there was somebody else?
Gary Wallace.
Gary.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he made the call. He had a power outage right before the meeting, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was able to have any.
Oh, okay. Hey, Gary. I don't have any. I personally don't have any comments. Gary, do you have any?
No, I don't have any comments.
Thank you for your time.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you both for coming. Nick, quick question because it's been a while. Do I read the whole action at this point, or do I get to save that for this afternoon and just ask for a motion to approve?
This morning you asked for a motion, then one of the other commission members would give that motion, and I think you just go through the second in that process. In the afternoon,
Okay.
you read the motion.
The whole thing. Okay, that's what I thought, but
Yes.
short-term memory loss, long-term memory, I'm not sure what it is.
I could be completely wrong, but let's go with it.
Okay, sounds good to me. All right, so I would like to ask the commissioners if I could get a motion to approve WSSC's proposal to pursue the Phase 2 Piscataway Sewer Shed Rehabilitation Project. So motion to approve.
Move to approve from Mahoney.
Thank you, Pat. Can I get a second?
Commissioner Robertson, motion to second the approval.
Thank you, Tammy. All right, so
Sandy,
we have
hold on, Sandy, this is Emily Vinieri. I just wanted to make sure that the motion is with the conditions, with the staff's conditions.
Yes, to be clear, my motion to approve is with the conditions from staff.
Okay, terrific.
And Ms. Roberson, Commissioner Roberson, is the second also with the conditions?
Correct.
Thank you. All right, So we have the motion to approve from Commissioner Mahoney and the second from Commissioner Roberson. All right. Let's move on to the second presentation today.
Hold on, you have to vote.
All in favor. Yeah,
Oh, that's
we have to
right.
vote.
Sorry. For posterity's sake, this is being recorded. So at this point, I would like to call for a vote from the commissioners on the motion as it stands. At this, yeah,
Aye.
let's get a vote of ayes. Thank you.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
All right, are there any nays? Not hearing any there. Was there any abstentions? Excellent, the ayes have it, so it will move forward to this afternoon for another vote where I read the longer action. And at this point, I can go on to the second agenda item. And this will be a presentation by Claudia Jones. She is going to present on the City of Havre de Grace Living Shoreline and Boat Ramp Replacement Project. Claudia, I turn it over to you.
Okay, Claudia, we can see the presentation. We can't hear you if you're speaking though.
It's still showing you as muted, Claudia. There you go.
How about now? Can you
to
still
go.
see the presentation?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. I was trying to get my notes to come up, but they aren't. But so anyhow, we'll just head on. This project is in Havre de Grace as well. Lots going on there. This month, it's for a living shoreline, a boat ramp, and step pool conveyance system in an area known as Water Street Heritage Park. And I did want to mention that Tim Whittle is here from Havre de Grace. I don't know if Stephanie Noy is, and Diane is here as well. I think if you have any questions that I can't answer.
Just so you know, Tim Whitty and me, Diane Clare, are here.
Okay.
And available. Stephanie was not able to make it into the meeting.
Okay.
So anyway, just for your, thank you for having us.
Thank you. I'm having a little technical difficulty in getting my slides to advance. There we go. Havre de Grace, for those of you who don't know, is located at the very tippy-toppy of the bay. And it is also located where the Susquehanna River comes into the bay. Just about 10 miles north of Havre de Grace is the Conowingo Dam. You might have heard of it. Just downstream from Havre de Grace is an area known as the Susquehanna Flats. It's one of the largest areas of submerged aquatic vegetation, or SAV, in the bay, and it ranges between 5,000 and 8,000 acres per year. The project components, it's quite the ambitious project. It includes a boat ramp and soft kayak launches, parking, living shoreline, with the idea of providing climate resiliency along the shoreline. Step pool conveyance system. They're hoping to use some of these other projects to create educational opportunities, and they are also getting MS4 and TMDL credits. The project location, you can see outlined in red along here, and you can also see the Amtrak bridge line that goes across to Perryville and Cecil County. Just to give you an overview of the different components along the entire shoreline. In yellow, you see the soft kayak launches. There's 2 of them. In a lilac-y color is the step pool stormwater conveyance system. 3 separate ones along here that would discharge out through the living shoreline. 1 here and another one down here. The existing conditions on the property, it is not being used right now except for parking, and people will fish off the shoreline here from what I understand. You can see some existing parking here with the bulkhead that's starting to fail. The middle picture shows a concrete portion of a bulkhead, and the last picture shows a bulkhead that is pretty much failed totally. The property history, it was once used, excuse me, for petroleum and pesticide storage and transfer. The storage tanks themselves were removed in 1999, all of them. An environmental assessment of the soils was conducted in 2004, again in 2013, and again in 2017. Some areas it was found were contaminated with hydrocarbons, lead, arsenic, and mercury, to name some. A soil management plan has been approved by MDE, which limits soil disturbance in specific areas and requires capping in others. Here's a close-up of the boat ramp and the soft kayak launch and parking. You can also see this red dashed line is the 25-foot modified buffer setback that Harford County has in their program for certain areas or many areas along the waterfront. And the green dashed line is the 100-foot buffer. You can see the double boat ramp in here, soft kayak launches, and parking for cars and trailers, pull-through spaces for 20 cars and trailers, 7 cars, including a handicap parking space right next to the kayak drop-off. The step pool conveyance system, as I mentioned, is 3 separate systems. It will open up or daylight some existing outfalls that release untreated water into the Susquehanna from the park site, from the Amtrak right-of-way, from the adjacent street, and from off-site drainage areas as well. It's designed to use cobble weirs to slow stormwater runoff and increase upland water storage in the step pools and subsurface sand filter beds. The living shoreline component is pretty extensive. It has reduced in length from what was in your staff report. It is now 2,482 linear feet. From my understanding, one of the private property owners pulled out. It is proposed to be a maximum of 103 feet channelward of mean high water. If you look at the site plan on the right, you can see this dashed line. It's actually from an SAV survey, but along here is the existing bulkhead. So that's where the existing mean high water is, and mean high water will change into some area after fill has been placed closer to the water, the new water line. SAV impacts may be up to 2 acres. Approximately 259 linear feet of revetment is being removed, but the majority of the bulkhead and revetment will be left in place. And it will be filled with sand, gravel, cobble, boulders to create area for marsh and terrestrial plantings and slope to help with climate resilience. And just to look back at the full site, the areas of green are essentially the areas where the living shoreline will be. You see the cobble and boulders and some woody debris along the shoreline, and the green areas will be planted for the most part. The critical area buffer impacts and mitigation. For the boat ramp and parking area, 2-to-1 mitigation is required within the 100-foot buffer and the 25-foot setback, and 1-to-1 credit is given for some two. The clearing for the entire project, 1-to-1 mitigation is required for vegetation cleared for the living shoreline, and 2-to-1 mitigation is required for clearing within the 100-foot buffer. The total mitigation required works out to be 69,403 square feet. The total planting proposed is 74,461 square feet. In addition to that, there will be 1.87 acres of high and low marsh that will be created and planted. The planting plan to the north of the Amtrak bridge. If you can see, the yellowish is the tidal marsh that will be planted. The green area with the squiggles will be a combination of trees, shrubs, and herbaceous vegetation. And the blue is plantings within the step-full conveyance system. And you have the same thing to the south. Oops. The critical area. What's happening? The 10% phosphorus reduction calculations were based on an LOD of 7.41 acres, which consists of 6.87 acres of existing impervious surface. The proposed impervious surface will be less than that at 7.05 acres. The calculations result in a phosphorus removal requirement of 2.01 pounds. The step pool conveyance system will reduce phosphorus loadings by a total of 14.36 pounds. The step pool Oh, it's not doing it?
I can see it, but it's not in the regular mode. I guess this right there.
Huh. I don't know what that's about. Anyhow, this stormwater management proposal will allow the city to meet and even exceed their federal EPA requirements for their phase 2 MS4 needs. For public notification, they've met this requirement. It was posted at 3 locations within the park property. The notice was placed in the Aegis bi-weekly on November 10th, 21. Review and permits by other agencies, DNR Wildlife and Heritage Service and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. There is the state and federally endangered short-nosed sturgeon and Atlantic sturgeon are in the region, but the agencies believe that the probability of encountering either species is very low due to how rare they are. The Department of the Environment has approved the sediment and erosion control plan and a soil management plan on December 1st, 2021. The approval of the stormwater management plan is pending. Maryland Historical Trust has determined that there will be no impact to historical and/or archaeological resources. The staff recommendation is to approve the project with the following conditions. Receipt of an updated planting plan and planting agreement within 30 days for review and approval by commission staff based on if the numbers are changing because of the property owner that pulled out recently. And prior to the start of construction, the city shall provide commission staff with MDE authorizations for impacts to tidal wetlands, as well as Army Corps of Engineer authorizations. And prior to the start of construction, the city shall provide commission staff with MDE stormwater management approval.
Hey, Claudia, this is Emily Binieri. Sorry, I think I have an echo, but can you go back one slide to the conditions? Could we revise number 1 to be consistent with the way number 2 and number 3 are, so that it would read within 30 days of, well, I guess it would say within 30 days of commission approval, the City of Havre de Grace will submit an updated planting plan and planting agreement to commission staff for review and approval.
Sure.
Just to make it, thanks, just to make it a little clearer about who needs to do what with that condition.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Questions, anybody?
Claudia, I did have a question. If you could go back to slide 16, I just want to clarify something that I noticed. I believe when you spoke to this slide, you had indicated that the impervious area, go back forward one more.
Okay.
Yeah, was going to, it's the 10% stormwater that I was looking at.
Okay, where did I put that? Let's...
There it is.
Okay.
Yep. I think when you were speaking to the slide, you had indicated that the actual impervious area was decreasing However, I'm reading it from the slide as increasing from 6.87 to 7.05. Is that correct?
Yes, you're right. I misspoke.
Okay, all right. I just
Yeah.
wanted to confirm.
Yeah, sorry.
And then the other question that I had was, you had mentioned that one of the property owners had pulled out. Was there a substantive reason that needs to be shared or should be shared with the commission staff on why they pulled out?
This is Tim Whitty, the owner, the original owner of the property, but for which the agreement was initially made, passed away.
Okay.
And the person that inherited the property no longer wanted to participate in the program. So
Okay.
it wasn't anything that it was just as a result, the person that inherited the property did not want to move forward with the project and pulled from the project.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions from the commissioners on the presentation? Going once, going twice. All right. At this point, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the City of Havre de Grace proposal for Water Street Heritage Park.
Commissioner McCall?
Thank you, Commissioner McCall. With the conditions, I apologize for not saying it the way I was supposed to, with the 3 conditions outlined by Claudia. So is your motion to approve consistent with the conditions that Claudia outlined in her presentation, Commissioner McCall?
Motion consistent with the conditions updated.
Thank you. And can I get a second with conditions?
Second with conditions from Mahoney.
Thank you, Commissioner Mahoney. All right, at this point, the voting last time was a little bit confusing for me. So I'm going to ask if there are any nays that need to be recorded for this project. Any abstentions? Hearing no abstentions and no nays, I will assume that we have a unanimous approval vote.
It's probably a good idea to say aye.
All right, we'll go with that, Pat. All right, for those that are in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, the motion moves. Thank you, everybody. We have one final presentation today, and it's going to be Lisa Horger presenting, and she will be presenting on updates to water-dependent facilities regulations. So while Claudia takes her presentation down, we'll get ready for Lisa's presentation.
Okay, can everyone see the slides?
Looks good.
Okay, I will get started. Again, this is Lisa Herger from the Critical Area Commission staff. And today, this afternoon, we'll be seeking the Commission's approval to publish the water dependent facility regulations in the Maryland Register as final regulations. So a quick review. The purpose of the regulations was to modernize the drafting style, update and delete outdated provisions. And primarily the changes all occurred in Chapter 3 of COMAR Title 2701, which is the water dependent facility section. But we also had some other changes throughout COMAR that were connected to the water dependent facilities chapter. So the timing is, you all may remember or not, that back at your August 4th, 2021 meeting, you voted to allow Commission staff to publish these regulations as proposed in the Maryland Register. That appeared in the register on October 22nd of 2021. The 30-day public comment period ran through November 22nd, 2021. We did not receive any public comments during that commenting period. So today, we're asking you to vote to publish them as final. If we receive that authorization from the Commission, the estimated publication date in the register will be January 28th of 2022 with a final effective date of February 7th, 2022. We're not done yet because we do have some what we consider non-substantive changes to the regulation. So since you all voted on them back in August, staff have come across a few places that we need to fix or amend. And I'm going to run through those briefly with you all. They're also outlined in your staff report if you prefer to follow along that way. And the changes all consist of either one, deleting an incorrect cross-reference, which is real quick and simple, two, deleting some unnecessary language, and then finally, we're clarifying some existing provisions. So the first non-substantive change is in COMAR 27010303. We're in the water dependent facilities section, and the regulation is general criteria. And the portion that is highlighted, you'll see, and double bracketed, says Regulation 11C4 of this chapter, if applicable. Regulation 11 is a regulation that we had proposed prior to your August meeting when we used to brief you all on the progress of these regulations. But when we brought them forward to the full commission in August for final publication, we did not include Regulation 11. We decided to table it. So therefore, I'm simply removing this cross-reference. I missed it the first time around, so my apologies for that. The second non-substantive change occurs also in the water dependent facilities chapter, specifically Regulation 5, which has to do with industrial and port-related water dependent facilities and activities. The green highlighted text, we're adding in the language in the buffer to provide specificity as to where we mean that is located. We have in an intensely developed area, but the intent is also in the buffer in intensely developed area. So we're adding that in. And then in the yellow, you'll see that we are double bracketing item B, which is extraneous language that explains that, you know, if it's not in a modified buffer area, then it has to be either a non-conforming use or part of a local program, which is already covered and not necessary in this portion of the regulations. So we're taking that out. And then the last four non-substantive changes are all the same pretty much. We are clarifying this language. So it used to say the avoidance or in the alternative, but instead we're going to put in the avoidance or, if unavoidable, the minimization, etc. So this change is happening in 27010303, which is the water dependent facilities chapter. And then we are also making these two changes in 270205, which is the state regulations on state-owned lands that have specific instructions for water dependent facilities. So the same language, it's pretty much mirrored in both 2701 and 2702. And again, these are all considered to be non-substantive changes, and they have been certified as non-substantive by Emily Veneri, our Assistant Attorney General. And that way we can continue with publishing these as final with these non-substantive changes as we move forward. So the staff recommendation is that the Commission vote to approve the regulations for final publication in the Maryland Register with the non-substantive changes as presented in the staff report and attachment. And I have put together a motion. I don't know if this is one you want to put forth. This is a suggestion, and then finally questions, but I'll go back to the motion slide if you all want to look at that one. By the way, this picture is of my house of the snow that we got on Monday. So we got so much less than everybody to the south of where I live. So I just wanted y'all to see that. Okay, back to the motion slide, and I'll turn it back over to Sandy.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, your motion looks very much like the motion I have in my action document for this afternoon. So if folks have had a chance to read through it, I will look for a motion to approve from one of our commissioners.
To approve from Mahoney.
Thank you, Commissioner Mahoney. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Robertson, second the approval. The motion, sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson. All right, let's go to a vote. Please indicate if you are in favor of the motion by indicating with a verbal aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right, are there any nays? Is anyone abstaining from voting? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is approved. And I think that wraps us up for this project subcommittee. Thank you for hanging in there for a little bit of overtime today. And I will see you all back at, I believe it starts at 1 for our afternoon commission meeting. So thank you all for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.